So I ran a poll on Twitter asking what you guys actually wanted to hear me talk about, and most of you were kind of curious why I hate the term girl boss. Now, before we dive into this, I think I should clarify, when I say girl boss, I'm not talking about a female person who owns their own business. No. I'm specifically referencing the girl boss, girl power stuff that has seen some shifts lately and has largely contributed to why I will never be using that hashtag ever again. Let's get into it. So in its original inception, the idea of a girl boss was largely spawned from a very female-empowered movement of trying to get more women into higher-paying roles, yada yada yada. Started positively. For a time, I actually had a mug that said girl boss on it because, when that was first making its big appearance, that was kind of the motivation. We wanted to see more female people in higher paying roles, or, encouraging more girls to pursue science or math and do away with the old stereotypes of girls like frilly pretty and boys do the smart things. That was the kind of inception of it. Where it got a little bit yikes is when it was starting to be co-opted by people who were, by and large, not really girl bosses. We started to see this happen in spaces where it wasn't really conducive to being your own boss. This happened a lot initially when I first saw it, before it was, more widespread. It started to happen with more female-oriented companies that followed the scheme that one may say looks like a pyramid. Yeah. And it also started to breed this kind of conversational language that was very anti-male, down with the patriarchy, which I think I've made it pretty clear in my other video on feminism. That's not really where I sit. I am more of a everybody has a seat at the table type person. I would prefer to see that, and not a kick the men out, women only, because that's not really an improvement on anything. Diverse opinion and voices, whether it be race, gender or gender expression, age in some cases, that to me produces a more effective working environment. Kicking out an entire group of people just seems dumb. It just seems really stupid. So where it started to get extremely bad is you started to see these memes that are relatable girl boss problems, but the things you were starting to see being posted were cringy at worst and kind of harmful at best. Granted, there were some things I learned when I first entered the workforce that made total sense. If you were being forced to do something that really wasn't on your job role, that was very demeaning, do it badly. That was the advice I got from one of my female counterparts when I had a job at one time where I had to do my daytime role, but I'd also been set down in the secretary seat, so I was also expected to answer the door, answer the phone, get coffee. So I just burnt the shit out of the coffee every time. Is that really what you should do now? Debatable, but because I was put in that role specifically because I was a woman, I felt you know what, fuck this, I didn't sign up for this. That being said, though, some of the language I've seen with the girl boss memes just don't strike me as great. Some of the initial ones I saw were men could never, your man could never, your male boss could never. It's hang on. That's actually demeaning, and that's not really helping strengthen your message at all. What you should be saying is, we can too, and we're just as good, and hey, give us a shot at the table, not fuck your male bosses. That's not great. And where it got extremely bad, and this is more recently, is on social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Girl boss has taken on an even more scarier, insidious meaning, specifically with MLMs. It was a little less pervasive when I first started hearing the term. It was really only the jewelry MLMs here and there, maybe a makeup one there, but now it is widespread. If you go to look at #girlboss on most social media sites, you are more than guaranteed to see at least 1 to 2 every 3 seconds in your scroll of MLMs telling you that you can be your own girl boss and run your own business and be financially independent. Look, you can get a Mercedes. And I think most people who have done any kind of research into MLMs know that that's really predatory. And if you aren't familiar with MLMs, let me give you a quick rundown of what that means. An MLM is a multi-level marketing scheme, better known as a pyramid scheme. I know I'm not technically supposed to say that, but if you actually look at how their hierarchies kind of go together, it's a pyramid. Typically what happens in these is you'll have one person at the top who, like, you know, of this little pyramid, and then they hire two people who give them a kickback, and then they hire two people who give them, you see what I'm saying? So essentially, many of these women who are targeted, there's already someone who's like killing it in the top rank, and they're dredging all these women in and trying to get them all to hit up their friends and start under the guise of you're your own boss, you're a girl boss. And if you've seen any of the coverage of some of the people who have worked at Lululemon is one that comes to mind, or Mary Kay, you know very, very well that that's not the case at all. If you haven't, essentially what tends to happen is these women are sold on the idea of becoming your own boss. All you have to do is spend a shitload of your own money to buy product, make the time to run those parties yourself, try to convince all your friends and family to buy these often subpar products, and you still have to keep buying and buying it. And then inevitably happens, if you're not killing it, is you wind up in a shitload of debt. You know that fancy Mercedes that they offer? If you stop being profitable for the company, you in some cases have to start paying off that free thing that you got, or sometimes you just have to have a garage full of crap for this company that's making you work harder than it is itself. I did know someone growing up who had a mother who worked for Arbonne, which is another MLM-based makeup brand, and yeah, they did a little makeup party at our house. I was a kid, I didn't know any fucking better. And while the products were fine, nothing special, you could definitely tell that there was a lot of desperation in her eyes to get us to buy those products, because if there were no sales, that eventually would start to bankrupt the person trying to buy up all that product and sell it to their friends and families. And one thing that these girl boss companies who are centered on MLMs don't tell you is, in trying to poach all your friends and family members and send them messages to try to get them to go to your parties, to buy your shit, to use your code, blah, 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 it starts to like alienate your friends and family. Some of you may have heard of the term hunbot, and the reason for that is many of these messages that people get started with, "Hey hun, I got some cute new product. Oh my god, I'm my own boss. You can join me. Oh my god, sign up on my page." And it's shit like that you get. And what ends up happening is many of these women who have then since left the MLM space have had to spend so much time reestablishing those friendships, because they've burned those bridges by being so aggressive. Because if they're not and they don't make sales, they could be very well financially in the hole. So why do I hate the term girl boss? Well, to summarize, I think in its inception it was great, but since then it's kind of veered off the path. It's been used by multiple, how do I say this really nicely? It's been used by girl boss females running their own business that, in my opinion, got the girl boss bug in their head and didn't think they had to do any actual hard work for it, and wound up crashing companies on the fallacy that because they're a girl boss, they'll just be fine all the time. I can name several that have done that, but I won't, because I don't want to get sued. I also think the recent insurgence of MLMs preying on vulnerable women who desperately need jobs, especially after COVID, by branding their opportunities as a way to be a girl boss, are disgusting and deplorable, and are honestly not going to make them a boss of anything, because it's going to bankrupt them and isolate them from their friends and family. That, and I think that the era of the girl boss is well over. I don't think we need girl bosses. For starters, girl is very demeaning and infantilizing. So if we're going to put girl bosses at the front, can we modernize, and can we actually acknowledge that these are women, like actual women? And fun little side note, in one thing that I saw in the hashtag girlboss, I also did not see a single bit of trans representation whatsoever. So it was very heavy leaning towards the cis-het female spectrum of women, and it just felt very like this exclusive club of women getting themselves screwed over by MLMs. If we're gonna try to empower one another, don't use hashtag girlboss, just do away with it, never touch it. No. Instead, can we empower each other? Find some other hashtag, some other term. Actually include the trans community. Maybe not in the MLM marketing things. Don't leave them out of it. You know what? It's fine if they don't get hit with the MLM bullshit. That's probably good. That's probably for the best. But if we're gonna move forward with a way to empower our female friends, whether they be cis or trans, or our NB friends who maybe don't want to be girl bosses, they just want to be a boss. Crazy concept, I know. Maybe let's start on that road to recovery from this, because I'm not a girl, but I would eventually like to be a boss of something. I just don't want to subscribe to that idea that just because I have titties, I'm entitled to a corner office. That's dumb. Let's encourage more empowerment and maybe focus less on the gender of the person who's going to be the boss. And if it should be someone who happens to be female, could we start using the term woman, because girls just seems so demeaning and infantilizing, and I think we're past that. Yeah, toodles.